Welcome everybody to the Toehold MMA podcast. We're here to break down Dana White's Contender Series Week 5. And sorry we didn't have a podcast last week. Life got in the way. Had to help my parents get their house on the market for sale and, had school started back up. So we're here to break down another week's event. And first fight of the night, we got Tucker Lutz versus Chase Gibson. Currently, this fight is Tucker Lutz minus 320 with Chase Gibson, the underdog, at plus 260. Lutz is 26 years old. He's 5'7", and his overall record is 9-1. While you got Chase Gibson, who's 30, he's 5'8", and he's 9-4. Lutz has very good ground and pound, some solid wrestling, um, you know, very very good guillotine, and has some great jiu-jitsu. His main weakness is a striking defense. Um, on the other hand, you have a fairly similar fighter in Gibson. He's got some decent right hand. He's got some decent, jujitsu, some good ground and pound, and threats with chokes. But his big issue is that he's got some poor takedown defense, and he's very easy to read at times. And I think, Lutz is probably going to land the early takedown on this fight, be able to control the fight, and then possibly, get a submission victory along the way, or potentially just end it with some ground and pound. But overall, I think, Luck should win this fight. I think it's not going to be very competitive. At minus 320, I think it's a little too wide. It's probably a fight you're going to want to parlay. Next fight of the night, we got William Knight versus Cody Brundage. Um, what do we got for the odds on this one? The Tapology moved it all around. William Knight comes in as the underdog at minus 105, and Cody Brundage is currently the favorite at minus 115. I was watching the lines last night on that. It seems to be flip-flopping back and forth. It's probably going to be a minus 110, even by the time this fight goes off. Um, Knight is 32 years old. He's 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. He's overall has a 7-1 MMA record. He fights in my home state of Connecticut. He's taking on Cody Brundage, who's 26 years old. He's 6'1". He's 5-0 professional record. Knight is super athletic. He's a big, built like a brick house, very strong, very good wrestler. Um, if he gets you on the ground and he's on top, he's gonna end you with his ground and pound. He has some heavy kicks, and he also has cardio to go all 3 rounds, and doesn't seem to gas very much as the fight goes along. Um, the problem is his striking's not the most technical. He's kind of winging stuff. He's a bit wild. Um, and he can be flat-footed at times. Cody Brundage, on the hand, he's got a good right hand, got some good leg kicks, decent wrestling and transitions, good, good on top. But the problem is he seems to wear down as the fight goes along. He's training, I believe he moved to Colorado recently, so he's training at elevation. So maybe the cardio is going to improve. He's training with some good fighters out there. Um, the first round's going to be super competitive. I think, if Brundage doesn't get it out of the first round with, using more of his technical striking, or maybe even landing some takedowns to control the fight for a little while, I think Knight's going to have a chance, as the fight goes on to really lock in this fight, or knock Brundage out in this fight. Because Brundage just comes with so much power. He'll probably land a takedown, and he'll get that ground and pound. It's going to be a very super competitive fight. I agree with the lines on this one. As far as me betting, I would, probably stay away, because this fight could really go either way. But, this is one you're just going to want to sit back, have some, have a beer, have a popcorn, and enjoy it. Next fight of the night, we got Jose Johnson versus Ronnie Lawrence. Jose Johnson's 25 years old, 6 foot tall, 74-inch reach. He's got a current record of 11-5. His opponent, Ronnie Lawrence, is 28. He's 5'8", 70-inch reach, and he's currently 5-1. The betting line on this right now is Jose Johnson minus 280, and Ronnie Lawrence is, the underdog at plus 240. Um, Jose Johnson's, got some good Muay Thai, good leg kicks. He's super athletic. He can mix it up well. He's super explosive. You got to watch out for his elbows. He's got cardio to go all 3 rounds. Um, his main weakness, I would say, is his takedown defense and and grappling. Once he gets down, he's kind of like a fish out of water for the most part. But the problem is his opponent Ronnie Lawrence, hasn't really shown he's a wrestler. He's got good takedowns too much, and I don't anticipate him getting those takedowns. On the feet, this fight's gonna be competitive because Lawrence, is a pretty good striker. He's got some leg kicks, got some good knees and everything. But I think the speed, power, athleticism of Johnson is just gonna be too much for Lawrence, and I ultimately think Johnson's gonna overwhelm him and probably potentially get the knockout win. This is with Tucker Lux, who we talked about earlier, who was a minus 320 favorite. I think you can probably, parlay Lutz and Johnson together, and probably I think you're going to get probably about, one minus 120 odds, minus one, 30, and somewhere in that range, maybe even better. That's something you might want to look to for this fight. Next fight, we got Jimmy Flick versus Nate Smith. Jimmy Flick is the underdog right now at plus 110, and Nate Smith is the favorite at minus 130. Jimmy Flick is 29 years old. He's 5'6", 70.5-inch reach, and his current professional record is 14-5. Nate Smith is 25 years old. He's 5'6", and he is 6-0. Nate Smith trains out of Elevation Fight Team, so he's gonna should have some good cardio. Training at Elevation, trains with a bunch of guys who are just doing really well. That camp overall is just very, very solid. They all, have a lot of, most of them have very good wrestling background, and that's what Nate Smith does have. He's got very good wrestling. He's very good scrambler. He's got good ground and pounds. He's got some good takedown defense. And overall, for being 25 years old, he's, pretty good solid prospect. And he's taken on a veteran in Jimmy Flick, who's very, very aggressive out the gates. He's got super aggressive, submission game. He's dangerous off his back. He's got some decent wrestling and jiu-jitsu. The problem is if you pressure him, he ends up shelling up. He doesn't, he's looking to get out. And he does tire as the fight goes on. And this is a super, super, this is probably going to be the fight of the night out of all of them to watch, as of, not like one that's going to be like, oh man, he got knocked out, but just is just like an awesome fight. Probably going to go close to 3 rounds. If not, it's going to be very, very entertaining for a while it lasts. And right now, I'm probably favoring Smith. I think, he's overall just going to be able to scramble better and probably, be in control most of the fight after, Jimmy Flick's, out of the gates pressure. And I think Smith is going to control him probably for rounds 2 and 3. But, but it could end early. Flick could get that submission. It's just not a fight I'm super confident in either one way to pick, but this is another one I'm going to say sit back, relax, enjoy it. But my pick on this fight is um, Nate Smith. Coming to the main fight of the card, we got Melsik Baghdasaryan. I probably butchered that last name and probably first name versus Dennis Buzukja. Um, this fight right now is Melsik is minus 115. He's the favorite versus Dennis Buzukja, who's a minus 105. Melsik is 28 years old. He's 5'8". He's has a 4-1 professional record. He's fighting at a Glendale Fight Club where Sabajian and all those guys are. Um, he's taking on Dennis, who's 22 years old. He's 5'10", and he's 4-1, and he's fighting out of Cerro Longo in New York, which is a great camp right now. They've been very hot. From what I've seen, Mizuki has got heavy hands. He's got a decent output, but the problem is he's kind of seems to be a slow starter. He has very, very little head movement. I mean, watching that fight against Dowling, he was getting pieced up, right down the pipe and nailing these shots. And his opponent Melsik is a former kickboxer and boxer. He's a fast starter. I think all of his wins so far have ended within like a minute. He's got some serious power. But the problem is, there was very little tape on both of these fighters, and especially Melsik. So it's kind of hard to pick what could happen because the way Bazookia doesn't move his head, it could, give Melsik that opportunity to explode early on and just knock him out. but Dennis has never been finished before, and neither has Melsik. And I think this could be a super entertaining fight. I'm not sure why it's on a Contender series. I don't think neither of them are very ready for the UFC. I could see them fighting in like LFA or somewhere else in a bigger regional card and promotion. Dennis fought out of Ring of Combat, which is a good regional promotion, but not one that's one of the best around. I think neither guys fought good competition. I think the guys Melsik has fought is like 9-12 records, and then Dennis is the guys he's fought have all been five. The average record is like 500. So neither of guys have fought good competition. It's going to be super interesting. But I'm I'm gonna I see a lot of people going with Dennis in this fight, and I get it. Every fight you can see those heavy hands coming. But I think the kicking and how hittable Dennis is, I think Melsik's gonna shock everybody and get the win right here. And I'm not super confident in it. I was hoping that Melsik was going to come in as a bigger underdog just because there's not a lot of tape on him, and all you've seen is those 30-second knockouts. So, but he's right now the favorite, and I don't mean right now. I just don't see betting him as a favorite. I think there might be value on Dennis right now at minus 105, but should be super entertaining fight. And ultimately, I'm still going to go with the underdog Melsik to win this fight. Um, as far as contracts go, let's see. I think Lutz is probably going to get one because he's going to get a very convincing win. I think whoever wins the Knight and Brundage fight will probably get one. I don't see the Buzukja Melsik getting one, even though it's probably going to be super entertaining and end quickly. I just don't think they're. I think they're more of. They need to have some more fights under their belts. Jimmy Flick and Nate Smith. I think the winner of that one will get a contract, and then potentially Jose Johnson. So I could see 3 to 4 contracts given out this card. Um, Thank you guys again for listening to the MMA to a Hold podcast. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to get the notifications so we can keep growing this channel. And we will see you next week.